Equine-assisted therapy is a very unique type of therapy. It is unlike the traditional type of therapy that you would be in a office with a therapist of any kind, that it is really an experience that the kids have. When kids come here, their concept, their understanding of trust has been so damaged that for them to be able to talk sometimes feels impossible.
It started several years ago with integrating some police officers into sessions here at Marley's Mission. And then when we had the tragedy with Officer John Wilding, we had a very specific group of officers who needed some help. And then we have 40 kids here who definitely need a positive role model, and they also need a different view of officers. A lot of times the kids that come here, even though their trauma isn't specifically related to law enforcement, an officer has come into their home and has taken away a loved one for cause. So infusing the two, law enforcement with our kids, made sense to give these kids a much more positive perception of what police officers are, that they are human, that they feel pain. And the main goal was to be able to heal both law enforcement and these kids and give both of them some perspective.
My name is Anthony Shields, and I'm a patrolman for the Scranton Police Department.
Scott Benzaleski, and I'm a patrolman.
Eric Lindsay, and I'm a patrolman with the Scranton Police Department.
My name is Dan Schaufler. I'm a patrolman with the city of Scranton. I was asked by Mary Wilding to come up to help with troubled kids who were victims of some sort of abuse.
As soon as I got word of that, I figured it's time for me to pitch in, and I better fill out that application ASAP.
She said that John would be proud for me to come here.
I really wasn't sure what to think. You know, I Googled it. I watched a couple of YouTube videos that said, what am I getting myself into?
I don't deal with kids besides in the work aspect, but I had a real good time with them.
Just kind of looked at it with an open mind, didn't really know what to expect.
I have a 2-year-old, so I wasn't really prepared for this age group, and I was a little nervous at first, but as the week went on, we all got to be friends.
We're group leaders, so just kind of walked into it blindly, and we had a great time.
We did arts and crafts. We made dream catchers. We did games. We had a slip and slide. Played with paint, obviously. We did a mud runner, which was fun. It was awesome, actually.
These kids were thrilled to race police officers in the Marley's Mudder. And then if they won, then they got to say, I beat a police officer in an obstacle course, so it just kind of elevated the situation.
We've all suffered some sort of trauma, whether it was the guys from the police department that suffered the traumatic loss of John, and the kids that are here. We're all here for the same reason.
We talk to our spouses. Sometimes we talk to each other, but not often. And it made it easier to bring some emotions to the surface instead of just kind of choking them down all the time. Mainly because we got to see these kids dealing with their traumas, their abuses, and they were great kids. They were a lot of fun. And you start thinking that, these kids are handling the stuff that they're handling so well. It leaves the door open for us to be able to handle it on the way home. And it was an absolute great thing. It did lift a lot of weight off our shoulders.
Here's a big thing you don't really know about us, okay? Tony, myself, Eric, and Mr. Benzaleski here is, I know, I just like, well, I suspect you. Kyle.
They don't.
Kyle, I apologize. I thought you all knew. We're all Scranton police officers, okay? We've been police officers for quite a few years.
For them not to know that we were police officers until the very end, I think it gave them a new look at police officers. Like, we could be your friend, and we're not going to hurt you.
They don't get to interact with us on a day-to-day basis. They might look at us differently. So if them getting to know us outside of the job and getting to know us as a person, I think it kind of shocked some of them when they found out what we do for a living.
And when I had said that we're police officers, the one girl in particular, whose father was a state trooper who had passed, she just kind of stared at me for a couple minutes and then smiled.
My group was so surprised. They had no idea. And they're like, you're the best kind of counselor ever, which I was.
They're like, we didn't know you were a cop. And I said, well, what did you expect me to be if you knew I was a cop? And so they thought they just didn't have an answers. They really don't. I don't think they realize that police officers are people who just choose that line of work.
Well, I think that the kids, in many of their cases, needed to restore faith or restore trust in authority. And the police officers, I think, needed a restoration of faith and trust in what they do, and that it is doing good. Because I can't imagine putting on that uniform every day, and especially in the months and now years since Officer Wilding passed away, putting that uniform on and realizing that your job could be fatal without knowing that it's doing some good. And for that week, they got to see it right in front of them while also having a lot of fun. I think anybody can see the value of being a kid and going to a place where childhood is nurtured. And once you're up at the farm, you understand what that means.
You know, we came here with the mission to help out these kids and help them move forward in their lives. And by the end of the week, you start to realize that they're actually helping us do the same.
Going forward out of here, it just makes it easier to talk about. And it makes it easier to, if I need to reach out for something to somebody, to let them know about something, I know I can, and I know the avenue to do it.
This is one of the top 5 experiences of my life.
This was great. This was awesome.
It is probably one of the top 3 I would put it in.
This would definitely be in the top 5. It's very gratifying to come out here and lend a hand.
You will absolutely see me here next year.